Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Cool Downs. These episodes are short, actionable podcasts pulled from previous interviews and content we've been publishing for the last several years. So go for a walk, hop on the rower, or clip into the bike for this cool down episode. I see happening more and more is just, I guess if I had to categorize it, it's just gym owners, box owners, if you wanted to call it, just being great leaders, and I'm not saying that's happening everywhere. I'm saying that's where the best gyms are being developed. Is you've taken this stance on you want to be a really solid leader for your team, and that's going to help develop your business. I really feel like that's I guess the future of that model, is going to be won by strong leadership, not opening 15 locations as fast as you can. And, so I think you've taken a really solid approach. How did you kind of transition to that role? Because I know probably when you started, it was a lot of, and I don't know, but I mean, probably a lot of coaching classes and trying to juggle, just the day to day, while developing a team. What was the transition like?
Yeah. So it's taken, I guess I started a gym in late 2005, 2006, for the first time. So it's been 12 years now that I've had a gym in some capacity. And for the majority of that time, I was the one that was responsible for all the work, and that's fine. And really, like in this business, you can make money in one of two ways. One is working a lot, and two is having like super high volume programs that, just proliferate, right? You got 4 or 5 different locations, or you have 15 or 20 different coaches that are working for you with a full load. And we don't have that. So, it makes it tough to monetize what we do. But going forward, if I'm not able to develop a coach and create what I know in them, then, me as a business owner, I'm going to end up just having a job. Right.
Right.
And for me, I want to have a project, or I want to have something that I can grow and develop and that'll live on and that other people can benefit from. And that's kind of been my main purpose lately, is to develop coaches, develop them in a way that allows the gym to benefit, allows them to benefit, to pursue the lifestyle and the living that they want, and pursue their passion, basically. I had the opportunity and the privilege to do it, and I'd like for them to have that same opportunity. I would like to provide them a more favorable opportunity than I had in terms of, financial benefit. It's tough doing it on your own, and it's tough owning your own thing. And anybody that does that or has done that, they know it.
And you said you started kind of originally dabbling in personal training, but you quickly realized that that's not something you wanted to do. What was it that made you not want to live that lifestyle?
I didn't like the setting that I was in. The people were great, but I didn't like, at the gym that I was at, it was you could book personal training on an hourly basis or on a 30-minute basis, half-hour basis. The people that booked it on a half-hour basis did really well financially, and that's great. However, you're constantly chasing people around trying to get them to fill those spots. You never have enough time with the right people to get done what you need to get done. And then, it becomes a very strict business model, and I just didn't like the way that felt, right? I wanted to be able to connect, develop, and actually like get some work done with the people that I was working with. So I never was good at that model. And I came out of it feeling like, management took advantage of everything we did. We never got a say in what was happening in the gym, and just didn't fit well with the way that I wanted to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've heard that story from a lot of people who kind of been in that rat race, if you will. Is like I forgot who was it I interviewed, and they talked about basically making an absurd amount of money as a personal trainer, but they were just like working god awful hours, like 7 days a week, and just like never stopped, and it just didn't end up working out for them. And I can understand why.
Yeah, I mean that's the deal. You either work a lot and make a lot of money, or you don't work a lot and you don't make a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing to continue when you're not around or actively with a client or athlete. All right. So one thing I wanted to ask is kind of juggling all of that you were juggling, but you were also competing in Olympic weightlifting. How are you managing to do that?
I can give you the very simple answer. I neglected most responsibilities. So because of the gym lifestyle and because of what I had created, I had the freedom and the flexibility to basically raise our kids at home to a point where they needed to be in school and start to develop where now two of them are in school. And then I've got a third one that I'm with most of the day. So, I had two things basically that I had committed to. Number one was raising children, and number two was, being a competitive athlete. It was in my bones. It was in my soul. It's something that I had to do. And so I kind of would split time. There's videos of me back in 2012 or 13 with, lifting weights where until I lift the weight off the ground, you can't see the baby in the background that's, on the other side of the platform behind the weights. And that now to me is really funny, but I kind of had to realize that like I did that at the expense of being able to grow my business and develop, other things related to that. In the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity and the privilege to grow the business and develop people and, kind of create a team that I can trust and can do everything that I was trying to do by myself. At the same time, they're able to develop themselves and grow as athletes and as people and as professionals. And I think that's really rewarding lately for me.
And so let's talk about Olympic weightlifting. So you said it was kind of CrossFit that got you into that scene. So where did CrossFit come onto the scene for you? And then why did you decide to kind of go? And I've seen this happen with a lot of people. They kind of fall in love with one aspect of what kind of CrossFit can introduce them to. So where did CrossFit come onto the scene, and then why weightlifting?
I think CrossFit was 2005, and I got introduced to it by a guy named Jeremy Teal down in Austin, who's still running the gym down there. Really good at what he does, very excitable, really good at growing a business and getting people fired up and leading a team. And I think he's been, he was my first introduction to it. And at the time it was me and him under a bridge at Town Lake with a kettlebell and 4 or 5 people walking by looking at us like we were, right. And at that time, it's kind of funny. I was probably a couple months from moving back home and finishing up school. And he said, "Hey, you should stay here and we should do this full time. And, in the 3 or 4 years it'll take you to finish school, we're going to have a business that's worth, $1 million a year." And I looked at him like he was the craziest person in the world. And okay, Jeremy, all right, thanks, have fun. And I left and, looked back at him 2 or 3 years later, and he's done it. Right. So anyway, he's got the dedication and the passion for it. And I love what he's doing down there. I took a different path. I ended up finishing school, starting a gym while I was in school and running it through there, in that middle ground time. I guess it was between 2007, 2009, got really into CrossFit. There were so many aspects of it that were really new to me in terms of how to develop my body personally and, my capacity and what I could learn. And this is like, you guys can't understand it now, but this is before there were tons of videos on YouTube. As it comes to, developing and learning, there weren't a whole lot of resources around, right? Whether they were online or even people in different locations that we could travel to. At the time, I didn't. My Ursula Garza, Bob Andrea, my weightlifting coach, who I met in 2009, was in Austin, and I had no idea, right? She's one of the best weightlifting coaches in the world, even. And she's just hiding out in Austin. Nobody knew about it. And so anyway, at a time when we were very hungry for education and learning, there weren't the resources that people have now, right? We couldn't get online and buy a course. We couldn't go, look at videos. We had basically CrossFit.com, who was exposing us to all this different stuff. And at that time, I think they had a really good flow of information, and they were really good at exposing people to different new ideas, and allowed you to kind of develop and learn what you wanted to from that. So, and that was between about 2006 and 2009. Late 2008, early 2009, I think trying to think. I think that's about when I kind of was joined up with CrossFit.com and got to start teaching a lot of their courses and traveling a lot and get exposed to all these people in all these different gyms and how people are doing stuff. And, really could put together a responsible idea about what fitness can and should look like, what a business can look like, how to develop these capacities and how to develop the understanding of how to do the stuff that I wanted to be able to do. and just picked up a passion for lifting weights. It was something very much like a golf swing that you're never going to perfect, but when you do it right, man, it feels good. And so, had kind of a journey through there and ended up working with Coach Mike Bergner on his certification staff at one of those events in Fort Worth, which is where my girlfriend lived at the time. I met Ursula, who I basically said, I was working with Greg Everett at the time as my coach, who was in California. And I met Ursula and I said, wait, you live in Austin? You're going to coach me. And she was like, okay, whatever. And so then basically started, sending me a program and I'd be in contact with her, periodically sending her videos and then getting down there to see her. At the time she was training in the garage and I kept telling her, hey, Ursula, weightlifting is something you can charge money for and you should. Previous to that, like, you didn't make money in weightlifting. It was something you did because you liked it and you liked the people you were working with. So as a business idea to her, it was totally foreign. And she was like, get out of town. Nobody's ever going to make money doing this. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Fast forward 5 years, 6 years, she's now putting on clinics and, has programs and a gym full of people that rely on her for coaching. Anyway, I guess that's not really a story, but so that's kind of how I transitioned into weightlifting, right? Did my first national competition in December of 2009, about 4 or 5 months after competing in my last CrossFit Games in 2009, which at that time, like between qualifying in May and competing in June or July, whenever it was, the fire was gone, right? CrossFit was over for me. And all I wanted to do between that time and the games was train weightlifting. And that's pretty much what I did. And I think I suffered in my performance because of that. But I just didn't care, right? I didn't want to do it. And it committed to the weightlifting thing. So, since 2009, I kind of just dug in. In 2009, I think I finished in the bottom 3 or 4 in my weight class. And that was a real big kick in the pants, right? Like, you just don't know how bad you are until you go up against these people that have been doing it for 5 or 10 years. So anyway, just put my head down and trained in my garage and eventually ended up owning a gym and training in the gym and coaching people. And I would say that it paid off years later. 2015, I ended up in 3rd place on the podium with 2 guys who are current or should be future Olympians in the sport. So, it took me 8 years to develop into somebody who could compete at that level in a sport that is incredibly complex and very hard.
Thanks for listening to today's Cool Down. If for some ridiculous reason you are not subscribed to Garage Gym Athlete programming, fix that problem right now. Go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a free trial, get started with us today. Thanks for listening.